Welcome back, everybody, to another retro movie review with myself, Tyler, and Matt.
Matt, hey.
And today we're going to be reviewing Akira from 1988. It's an anime. So let's get into it and see if we enjoyed it.
In 1988, the Japanese government drops an atomic bomb on Tokyo after ESP experiments on children go awry. In 2019, 31 years after nuking the city, Kaneda, a bike gang leader, tries to save his friend Tetsuo from a secret government project.
Yeah, so for me, I was hesitant to begin an anime. I know it's like very popular right now in the West, and
Yeah.
I think this was the film that really kickstarted that.
Yeah.
I was overall I would have put myself on the side of a fan. I don't want to say I completely hated the film. It wasn't the worst thing I've seen.
Yeah.
Just overall, I'm not sure that it was my cup of tea. It wasn't my jam.
Wasn't your jam.
No.
I went into this highly anticipating it because I am also not an anime person. Yeah. You and I both are not anime people.
No.
But we figured, hey, why don't we give it a shot and try it out?
Yeah, I really liked we tried out Dracula, which was a black and white classic film, early audio film, right?
Yep.
Introduction of audio in films. And so we kind of said, let's stay on our heels and try something new. And yeah.
And then we both watched this, and it was like not what we expected.
No.
Certainly not what I expected at all.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it was an interesting story. I'll give it that. I'm like, okay, they were playing with some interesting themes. There was obviously, the bombs that were dropped. Obviously, there was a lot of those themes being played within the narrative.
Yeah.
And we had mentioned maybe that there's some like cultural, gaps in terms of language because we watched the English dub.
I think I'm wondering if when it gets translated from Japanese to English, the dialogue that is forced to be used because you are making that translation maybe loses some of its
meaning.
Yeah, meaning.
Yeah, I think so.
I bet you the translation of the film is partly to do with maybe the dislike that we kind of have for it.
Right. Yeah, we did watch the English dub. I know a lot of people are going to hate us for that too. I'm interested to see what kind of hate comments we get. You normally don't get hate comments. I never really get hate comments on my videos.
Yeah.
So
I think as long as we remain respectful, right? Like, I'm not here to trash. This could be someone's favorite film.
Yeah.
And it's great if it's yours, right? We're allowed to have different opinions. And that's kind of the fun of doing the reviews is watch something old and see how we feel about it. Or even something old and new to us.
Yeah.
And see how we feel.
It just, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was really gory and it was really like over the top. And not a lot of character development. I know we're going to get crucified in the comments. But okay. I personally don't think, in terms of characters, I really don't think I cared about any of them.
Yeah,
really.
I struggled feeling that attachment to characters that you're supposed to build up in a film.
Yeah.
Think back to
The Sandlot.
It's Sandlot. You loved the kids. Think back to Small Soldiers when we did that. You loved the Gorgonites. You want them to win. I didn't feel like I got that, and it was cool to see this sci-fi get mixed in, and it was futuristic, right? Because this was an 88 film set in 2000 and something.
19 or something like
19,
that? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So it was cool to see. I always kind of like looking at, films that are set in the future from a past time period because, you get to see what really is or isn't that way.
Right.
I didn't feel like they overdid the futuristic scenes. I mean, they didn't really make it too futuristic, like crazy flying cars or nothing. But when I first, I told you, the first scene we saw is like this bike chase scene of some sort, right?
Yeah, they set it up, or they opened the film
this is gonna be
really
like
strong.
A really kick-ass like bike racing film. It's not. It's not.
No, it goes way off.
And then the bike, they talked about how cool his bike is, and like, you can't handle my ride. I spent a lot of money on it or something like that. And then it wasn't really about the bike, and I was very much. And it's my fault for not maybe researching what the film itself's about.
No,
I was just like,
neither of us did.
I'll go into completely blind. So I thought we were going to watch a really cool, like, motorcycle gang race to the death type thing.
And that's what it was for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and then it wasn't. and then it's fine. But I don't know. We always talk about plot and pacing.
Yeah.
I feel like plot and pacing really do go hand in hand. And the pacing for me, I felt like it was a longer movie than it needed to be.
Oh yes.
Personally, again, if you love this movie,
and it felt quicker than most anime. I feel like, because I feel like a lot of anime is drawn out, but this still was quicker, but still was slow.
And I think that's why I've never hopped on the anime wagon. Mm-hmm. Growing up, my friend Robbie, his sisters were into it, and we watched a few of the films. I couldn't remember the names of them. I couldn't tell you what they were called.
Right.
But like they loved them, and I was just like, the pacing is just too slow. It's not as quick paced as I would like, I guess. I don't know, maybe that again is a cultural translation, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe films in the East the pacing is more like that, where I feel like in the West everybody expects like you get the information right away, build up to this climax, and pay it off.
Yeah, there's a certain structure of the way that we tell stories over here, that is very different from other cultures. And I'm kind of going through that right now with writing my own film, where I'm kind of looking at what our normal storytelling patterns are, right? Yeah. And kind of making sure that I implement them into my movie, because I want them to resonate with audiences. I want audiences to recognize certain moments in my storytelling and not have this effect. No offense to this. This is artistically, this film is beautiful.
Yeah. And again, if this is the style that you see out East, that's fine. They're used to that, right? Where in the Western culture, we have a different style of telling stories.
All right. And it was it was nice for research purposes, even for my film, to be like, okay, how is this story told? But yeah, there's just something about, like, we didn't get to see any of, what's his, Kendara?
We apologize. The names are tough to remember. For
Tetsuo, I remember Tetsuo.
Yeah, and then Kaneda, I think.
Kaneda.
And we're probably still pronouncing it wrong, but
Kaneda and Tetsuo.
He was like the main biker guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The red jacket, I think.
The red jacket. They did a good job of making them identifiable in terms of characters, but in terms of character personality, again, maybe because of the mistranslation, the gap there, but I was just like, I don't really know.
And I think there's something to it, because after that we watched these typically at my house, and when you left and I told my wife, and I was like, about the film, and she's like, I wonder how much of it got mistranslated because one language to the next.
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah, there's probably a lot that you're missing.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if we'll ever do one of these ever again. Maybe not for a long, long, long time. I know there are other anime out there. Maybe we went too deep. Maybe there was a little bit more. Yeah. Maybe there's a better anime we could watch.
If you guys have better anime options that are a little bit friendlier to like those that are newer, let us know. Because I would, with the right anime, I would potentially try it again. Right. I don't want to close the door forever.
Right.
On anime per se. Like, I'm still want to be open-minded, but I think we're going to try to get back into our wheelhouse a little bit more for the next couple reviews.
The art is obviously, I think, the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
I think it almost works better. We'd watched Dracula without any music. Mm-hmm. And I almost kind of wish we would have watched this as a silent movie, like without any dialogue, and we just would have watched it with the music. Like, had the music there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just be kind of this like audio visual experience.
Sure.
And not necessarily be tied to the dialogue. And I wonder if it would have been any different. It still would have thrown us for a loop, I think, because again, I was all in on like the biker stuff. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then it goes off into...
Yeah, I love when they incorporate some of that
La La Land, I think.
Stuff. Yeah. I enjoyed the sci-fi things. I don't know if I followed the story completely. I think overall I followed the storyline, like the broad bones of the storyline.
Right.
I'm just not sure that the minute parts of it that I followed.
It was very confusing though, because they have Akira, and they're looking for Akira, or Akira is talked about,
which is like this spiritual essence type of thing, right?
Yeah, it's in like these jars, and then it comes together and forms this child.
But we didn't even know it was like a tangible thing until like the last 30 minutes or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought that was kind of poorly set up. I mean, we're supposed to be talking about things we liked.
Well, it was the animation, and unfortunately, there wasn't much to it.
We're not
gonna like every film.
I agree. We're not gonna like every movie that we review, and that's important. That's important.
And I think we're doing a fine job avoiding trashing it. I'm not saying it's a terrible this and that and fire everybody. They should never make a film again. It just was our cup of tea. So unfortunately, we do have more in the negative than we have in the positive for this film. And that's bound to happen.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Soundtrack was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought the music was all right.
I think for the sound, if I could chime in, there was times, and I think it was intentional, where you have all these explosions and these things happening, and then it was just like silent. And they held that silence, and that silence was like almost deafening. Mm-hmm. And if that's intentional, I think that was done very well. Like they certainly had us feeling that.
Right.
So I think they used the soundtrack and the sounds very effectively.
And I think that was like pretty revolutionary with an anime.
Okay.
Was how it was. I think they approached the sound design like a film.
Okay.
And I think that might have been the first time. I don't know for sure. But I think that was probably like one of the first times that was ever done in an anime. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I really don't have much else to say. With this one.
Otherwise, like I said, the plot and the pacing was a little confusing because we have this. There's a biker gang who meets this. What looks like a old man who's in but a young person,
a young
child. They look old.
Who's got powers?
Who's got like some sort of powers that the main character's like best friend, is it Tetsuo? Tetsuo, who like encounters him, and then by encountering him, like there was some sort of transference of power, right?
We think. But see, that's the problem. Like that wasn't very clear even. Like that's what you interpreted.
Yeah. And then the government held on to Tetsuo and was like, yo, he's got this power. We need to monitor him. And the whole time Tetsuo was like, I need to get out of here.
Right. Which is
then his powers, because he couldn't be trained, I guess, by the government, like it grew rapidly, right?
Yeah.
And that was the ultimate payoff at the end, was like the result of him not getting the training and what happens when you have this great power, great responsibility sort of a thing.
Yes, great power, great responsibility, yes.
Seriously, or whatever.
It reminds me a little bit of Stranger Things.
Okay.
Right, with the special being who the government is trying to control and
I enjoy
manipulate and everything. I wonder if in the final season of Stranger Things, if 11 is going to grow into this big blob of craziness. Stuff. I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do anything like that. If they do anything like that in the last season, I would be like, I know where that came from. Yeah. So at least we're a little bit more cultured now. Yeah. That if we ever see any references, we might be able to be like, I know where that came from. I saw that movie.
Yeah. I am. Well, funny enough, I went to a toy show, right, like the weekend after this, and I sent you a picture. I was like, hey, look, it's the dude on the bicycle.
Yeah.
And but again, the motorcycle wasn't as important. It did come back at the end.
It did come back at the end, but it wasn't like a.
I thought this was going to be a drag race or like a street race.
Street race, yeah.
Motorcycle.
So did I. I was kind of like, because the cover, it's just misleading. It's called Akira. And then
it's okay for me that like this Akira was this, we weren't sure if it was a tangible thing, if it was a spirit, what exactly it was. Like I felt that I understood that it was this higher power being of some sort.
Right.
And I'm okay that we got it paid off at the end. I thought it was just sort of strange that I was like, also it was just, hey, Akira's like in these tubes, these little jars, and then they get broken free and yeah. Final thoughts. I think maybe is.
I guess we'll go to final thoughts. I appreciate the experience. I enjoy the art style, and but the plot and the pacing, as we all know, we are very big on plot and pacing here on this show, and it just doesn't hit. It falls flat, and it wasn't terribly long either, but it felt pretty long. I was like,
I think
it was under 2 hours.
Was it under 2? I thought it was more than 2. We'll have to take a look at that.
More than 2.
while you're searching, I'll kind of give my final thoughts then. My final thoughts are kind of more the same. I appreciated having the opportunity to feel more cultured by seeing an anime and saying like, yeah, as an adult, I was able to watch one and give myself the best chance at following along with it and seeing if I enjoyed it. Because as a child, I didn't.
No, it was 2 hours.
I still don't think that anime is my cup of tea, and I think I'll probably stay away from it. Western animation, sure, like, you know, TMNT and Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, stuff like that, that's fine. But this is obviously very different.
Yes.
And I think that's just a cultural thing that I think there's cultural gaps and mistranslations that I didn't get, or we didn't get, that we didn't get to maybe truly appreciate what the film really means. I enjoyed the animation. I agree with you, though. I felt like the pacing lend itself to falling a little bit flat. Felt like it was a little longer than it needed to be.
Yes.
Felt like there was more in there that sometimes needed to be in there. And maybe that's part of the filmmaking experience. You make all these things. Like you said, somebody hands you all these. So it's like tough when you're like, well, we got to cut it. You spent hours making this, but it's got to go. That's a tough decision to make.
Yes.
So all in all, for me, towards the bottom of the list of the things we've seen so far.
Yes.
Not one of my favorites, but I'm glad I did it.
Yes.
You know,
very glad that we experienced it. Yeah, I think for both of us, it was an interesting experience, and you know, we'll chalk it up to you know, we are more film literate, I guess. Yeah. Right? We have, our catalog has grown, which is a plus.
Yeah, and I think if we continue doing this for years and years to come, I think we can circle back to an anime at some point. But I think for us, let's just steer back into some of our more familiar stuff. All right, Tyler. December's our next film.
Yes.
I'm thinking holiday film. What are you thinking?
We're thinking definitely holiday. I'm on the right path with you.
And then my thoughts was to swing us back into familiarity.
Yes. Maybe
check out the Jim Carrey's version of The Grinch.
Sounds good.
That's kind of a safe choice to sort of get us back in line with our film styles here.
With our film styles, yep. It's a little more closer to home. Something that we both kind of know and have seen a few times, but is worth a revisit. One of my favorite Christmas movies. I don't know about you.
I actually like the newest Grinch as one of my favorites, but The Grinch in itself is just that story itself. Yeah, yes. The original animated, The Grinch, adapted straight from Dr. Seuss's book.
Yeah.
The live action and then the I forget who did it, but the one
Illumination.
Illumination. Yeah, I love theirs. Yep. My wife's a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
So that'll be on repeat in our house.
Yep.
Starting probably
tomorrow.
Well, yeah.
No, maybe not tomorrow.
Yeah. So, and before we leave here, guys, we are recording this on the day of the one and only Tyler Babb's birthday.
Thank you.
So in the comments, wish him a happy birthday. It'll come out a little bit later, but wish him a happy birthday. What are you, 21 now?
No, I wish. I wish. I'm 31. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We're old men now.
Yeah. Well,
that's why we're able to watch these retro things. Call them retro, and they're just our childhood.
we call them retro. It makes us feel old. No, I don't know. I don't feel old.
I don't. It's like a mental thing. Yeah. You know, like your brain still feels pretty.
I don't know. You have a child, so maybe it's different.
I do feel a little older these days.
A little. You're a little older now that you have a kid. But
dude, happy birthday, man.
Thank you. Oh. Thanks for recording this on my birthday.
Of course, dude.
It's kind of it's a fun coincidence that we were able to do it today.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for joining us on the review of Akira. Thank you for coming by. You can check us out on YouTube, obviously. Like and subscribe. And you can hit us up on our Instagram. We got a new Instagram at Tyler and Matt's Retro Reviews, where we clip out these episodes and upload them in bite sizes. So make sure you go and follow that page. And you can listen to us on Spotify as well. Thank you guys so much. Matt, any final words?
Nah, just thanks for doing this with me. I enjoy it. I look forward to it once a month. It's nice to just go back, set aside a time to watch like an old movie and then get to talk about it. So thanks for having me. Thanks guys for tuning in. Leave a comment, say happy birthday to Tyler, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Take care, guys.